constantly doing what I say I'm going to do moves my business on in quite profound ways, actually. Let me give you an example. In terms of forwarding on my career and my skill set, if I work on my task sheet and I get the work done that I need to do, I can also put on my task sheet, okay, I've got some new skills I want to learn, So, for instance, I bought myself a new guitar, which arrived yesterday. Now, you might think there's a lot of them anyway, and, sort of stuff, However, I want to be able to, I've got a project coming up that I'm going to be doing some country guitar playing. So I wanted a guitar which will sound great, for Nashville type country songs. And I need to learn some really good Nashville licks. Well, I can put that.
You just wanted another guitar. Come on.
No, it's kind of, I have got, I'm generally thinking I should sell some or give them away, and I do I want to, and the operative word is I want to, there's lots of things in life where we want to do it. I think Sir Ken Robinson has a great little story where he talks about meeting a pianist and saying, oh, I'd love to be able to play like you. And the guy said, well, you clearly wouldn't love to play like me, because if you really love to play like me, you'd actually sit in front of a piano for 10 hours a day so that you could play like me, And so there is that want to, because everyone wants to, It's a question of whether you're willing to do it. And what the task sheet does, in a way, is it gives me that focus to do it. So in my task sheet next week, I can put down, okay, 15 minutes worth of looking at YouTube clips of country music players, learn those riffs, and that will then feed into my work 2 months down the line, because I'll have learned those things. Yeah. So the task sheet is a great way of kind of keeping track on those, moving those things forward. And what the buddy process does is keeps me in check to say, have I done it? Because, there may be a whole load of other stuff which comes in, where I think, oh, I've got to prioritize that, I've got to do that, or whatever, However, if I've got a little daily agreement, 10 minutes or whatever, and that's the other thing I've learned about agreements, is that if I put down I'm going to do an hour's guitar practice, I will almost certainly fail that agreement, because finding an hour in my day, it's just I can't, either that or I'm going to have to say, right, I'm not going to sleep, and it's so I make the agreements so that they are achievable, and and of course, as soon as I make an agreement, the thing which goes, oh, that'll be lovely to do, goes on my head, and the other side goes, oh, what a pain in the arse, you've made an agreement, now you've got to do it. Those things come up straight away, however, I make them achievable so that I can get past that.
One of the types of agreements I've come to love is these tricky little, very, very short agreements. So when we had our Life Players business and we were doing support via the internet, 2001, somebody had an agreement to tidy their desk for 90 seconds a day. And you would think, well, that just isn't going to get the desk tidy. But the interesting thing was what was stopping them from tidying their desk was the resistance to getting started on it in the first place. Well, the agreement got them started, and what they were typically finding was that 5 minutes, 10 minutes later, they were still tidying, because, well, they'd started now, and they kind of were getting into it. And yet, at the same time, you can't possibly have resistance to 90 seconds tidying. You can't really, come on. So I used that a little bit with the book and with my 10 minutes writing a day when I had to start, and there was a lot of pressure on me time-wise. So, hey, one of the things I wanted to ask you was, we would work together in the Job Club in around the late 90s, wasn't it, I think, in London. Yeah. And I remember that one of the impetuses for people coming to that was that they needed to generate, while they were busy on the current project, the current freelance project, and they were giving all their time to artistic creation, there wasn't time to be booking the next gig. There wasn't time to be getting the next job in. And it was often that people were using a task sheet or an agreement to call people about work. So I'm wondering, do you have any work set up for yourself in the future at this point? Or are you neglecting that and you've got to, get yourself a new agreement so you create some work? Where are you
Well,
with that after all these
I've got
years?
work set up for the next 18 months at the moment, So,
Oh my God.
so I have to be aware of that. And so one of my one column on my sheet is future work. Bearing that in mind, I put on my task sheet, go to Kids Screen in America. There's about 4 major children's TV conferences in the world each year. And I was talking with Anthony, my buddy, about how do I get out and meet people, and I said, well, I suppose I could do these conferences, and Anthony said, well, like, you should go off and do all of these conferences, So now, and I was part of it, thinking, okay, I'm going to go to America, I'm going to go to Miami, and I won't know anyone and all that sort of stuff. Well, I came back from America with a TV series that I've just started working on, the ability to pitch for another series, which I've just won that pitch, and also cemented relationships with a company called Sprout, who I did a series for last year.
Do you think this process of keeping the agreements and talking to your buddy, do you think that has had an effect on you personally, that it's enabled you to grow as a person? Or has it just mainly been a payoff for the business?
Of course, absolutely. It kind of it makes me grow as a person. And it also goes into other parts of my life. I mean, it's not just with buddies when I'm keeping my agreements. It's also about the standards that I set for myself and my work. By trusting myself, because I can keep an agreement, and having high standards, like nothing goes out the door if I think it's just a bit crap. So it's those things that it's a kind of very, very subtle and again very profound. I think that keeping my agreement means that I raise my game all the time.